My dear friends, at a gut-wrenching vigil to address senseless gun violence and mass shootings, I sat beside Latinos just back from El Paso and grieving moms in Memphis whose kids were killed by guns. When it was my turn to speak, I shared how my father was the rabbi of Temple Israel in Dayton, Ohio, during the Vietnam years. I remember watching riots outside the window of my Dayton elementary school in 1971, and I really did see fights break out in the parking lot. But my school was spared the Sandy Hook slaughter because the fistfights I witnessed, and even a knife, were not the machine guns or even the rifle which massacred 9 people in 32 seconds in my childhood city with a gun, not with a bomb, but with a 21st century gun. A totally rational, depraved, white nationalist from East Texas drove to West Texas to execute and carry out the worst terrorist attack against the Latino community in modern U.S. history. This combustible combination of guns and hate, this toxic brew of fearing that America is becoming too colored, losing its whiteness, combined with loving guns even more than protecting children, is the thread connecting the massacres of Sikhs in Wisconsin, Jews in Pittsburgh, Muslims in Christchurch, and African Americans who were slaughtered not only during Bible study in Charleston, but in the Louisville Kroger, where a loving black grandfather was randomly gunned down shopping for school supplies with his grandchild last fall. Explaining why he didn't shoot the others in the Kroger, he said 4 words: whites don't kill whites. The lethal weapons are the same. The hate is the same. It's the target that changes from black to Jew to Muslim to Sikh to Latino to who next? Every Jew should know better, especially this week in Jewish time. Sunday, if you didn't know, is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. Tisha B'Av, the day of mourning over the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem. Tisha B'Av was the date chosen by Jewish haters to expel Jews from Spain. It's the date the Nazis would burn Jews alive in synagogues. And before those tragedies, 2,000 years ago, the early rabbis had to come up with an explanation for how and why the original temple in Jerusalem. Remember, there weren't lots of temples. It was God's house. How could it burn down? It's worse than the stock market crashing or worrying about your paycheck. How could God's house burn down? 2 principal reasons they contended were needless violence and baseless hatred. Hatred and violence, they suggested, was what destroyed the ancient world. The relevance of this year's Tisha B'Av is facing the reality we are ignoring or condoning or justifying or throwing up our hands or explaining away, rather than condemning the same toxic brew the early rabbis spoke of. Hate combined with violence is steering us to our own downfall. So this week is Tisha B'Av, the saddest day, and next Friday night we celebrate the Jewish Day of Love, Tu B'Av. How is it that a day of mourning and a day of love fall on the same month in Jewish time? The leader of our reform movement in Israel, Rabbi Gilad Kariv, notes that this seemingly odd juxtaposition is no coincidence. In fact, it's similar to another in the Jewish calendar, if you recall, the pairing of the commemoration of the Israeli Day of Remembrance, where we mourn fallen soldiers in Israel, followed literally seconds after, immediately, by Israel's Independence Day. In both cases, these two contradicting days within such a narrow period of time remind us that our own lives are filled with mixtures of ups and downs, positives and negatives, and that we're obligated to recognize and face those times and see them through. The goal is to move from what destroyed the temple, senseless hatred, sinat chinam, to what rhymes with sinat chinam, ahavat chinam. The goal is to move from senseless hatred, I just said, to ahavat chinam, unconditional love. And how do we do that? By going out of our way to love our neighbors as ourselves. Not the ones who vote like us, not the ones who look like us, not the ones who pray like us. Neighbors like my Latino pastor friend, Greg Diaz, whose church is sheltering frightened children a few miles from here after yesterday's roundup of 680 Latino working men and women in Mississippi. What literally woke me up in my sleep a few nights ago. My wife is usually up a lot more than I. This is maybe the only time in our marriage when I was up and she wasn't. Greg reminded me that on the same day of the national mourning in El Paso and Dayton, 680 and all these kids, only hours from here, literally had the hell scared out of them. Now, what does that have to do with this week's Torah portion? Everything. Listen to me. Before we read 7 prophetic readings of comfort starting next week, leading to Rosh Hashanah, tonight, this Shabbat, is the last of the 3 Torah prophetic readings, the Haftarot, known by an Aramaic name, Talat Defur Anuta. The 3 Haftorahs of affliction, Isaiah chapter 1, is always read on this Shabbat before Tisha B'Av. It begins with one word, chazon, vision, as in the vision of Isaiah. This Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazon. And in one phrase, these 27 verses we're supposed to read this week, don't worry, I won't read it. It's an exaltation of justice. Zion, the Jewish people, shall be redeemed by justice, Isaiah says. That's what makes the Jewish people unique. The core of our people's obligation is justice. Without it, all ritual acts, including prayer and Seder and dietary, they all count for little. We cannot love God without loving human beings, says Isaiah. The way to loving God is through loving God's children, all children, not just your own. We cannot expect justice from God, Isaiah says, without practicing it ourselves in relation to others who are not like you. Pastor Diaz and the Latino community, being targeted and traumatized, have asked for our prayers. And I know they read our Hebrew scriptures, hopefully Psalm 118, which speaks of the places you never thought you'd be, like holed up and hiding with your parents, hoping they won't take your dad or mom away. These narrow places of which Psalm 118 speaks, Min HaMetzar, refer to our Jewish story as refugees and slaves in Egypt. I know we've come a long way from then. I live in Germantown. I live in a beautiful neighborhood. That's not what this psalm is talking about. It's remember, Micah, you're part of this story. They comment, the rabbis, that the reason our people were saved wasn't because we were worthy or even that we did anything. It wasn't even that we cried out to God that led to the redemption at Passover time you've read about. Do you know why the rabbis said we were redeemed? Because we cried. Because we stopped being callous. Because we stopped getting numb to the pain all around us. It was this act of crying, Aneni, answer me. Help me feel the pain. Help me, God, face the fear, not just that is in me, but that I'm ignoring around me, so that we can begin the road to redemption we seek, not just for my own redemption or for my tribe, but for your children, God, all humanity. Psalm 118, Aneni, min hametzar.
Min hametzar karatia, Hanani v'amechalia. Min hametzar karatia, Hanani v'amechalia. Odecha ki ani tani v'tehili lishua. Odecha ki ani tani v'tehili lishua. Join with us. Say Aneni.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Try that. Aneni. Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Sing with us.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Min hametzar karatia, Hanani v'amechalia. Min hametzar karatia, Hanani v'amechalia. Odecha ki ani tani v'tehili lishua. Odecha ki ani tani v'tehili lishua.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Oh God, answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
I call down to you from a narrow place. Your answer came to me from wide open space. My heart cried out for you wherever you are. Your answer came to me. Min hametzar. Aneni.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
God, answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni. Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.
Answer me.
Aneni, Aneni, Aneni.